All right, good morning. It's my great pleasure to be moderating this first panel on Indigenous Voices. And it's really an honor to have these guests with us here today.
Did we share the image?
Is it not on Zoom?
Yeah, sorry to interrupt.
Just resume share.
Yeah, resume share. But we want to share PowerPoint. Sorry about this.
Oh, no worries. Even thinking about that.
Let me stop sharing and then go back to Zoom. Go to share. This is the PowerPoint right there. Okay, great. So we'll have to stop sharing. Thank you.
All right. Yeah. You know, only the third year of the pandemic, just getting used to Zoom. So anyway, it's my great honor to introduce our panelists for this first panel on Indigenous Voices. We have with us here leadership from two of the tribes who are, whose lands we are here today in Santa Clara Valley. We have from the Muwekma Ohlone Tribe of the San Francisco Bay Area. We have Vice-Chairwoman Monica V. Arellano, her son Lucas Arellano, and from the Amah Mutsun Tribal Band, whose ancestral territory is just to the south of us here, we have Chairman Valentin Lopez. So I'm going to keep my comments quite minimal here. And so we'll start with the land acknowledgement from Vice-Chairwoman Arellano and her son. And then each representative will talk a little bit about how their tribes intersect this theme of environmental justice, kind of loosely organized on the land trust that the Muwekma Ohlone Tribe and Amah Mutsun have put together over the last couple of decades. But given our situation here in Santa Clara Valley, our location here at the mission, I'm sure that their remarks will also touch on historical aspects of environmental justice, as Dean Press was kind of leading us into. So with that, I will hand it over to Monica and Lucas. And I didn't see Michael Wilcox. I'll also invite him to join us. He's on the board of the Muwekma Ohlone Preservation Foundation and is a lecturer in Native American Studies up at Stanford.
Porchetuhi, Ganakraka, Monica Villarreano, Huetrascuchus, Muwekma Ohlone, San Francisco Bay Area. Good day. I greet you in our native Chochenyo language. My name is Monica Villarreano. I am the Vice Chairwoman for the Muwekma Ohlone Tribe of the San Francisco Bay Area. Kanamin Kanak Apakush Joel, Chocho Kanak Papakush Albert, Chocho Kanak Melekush Mercedes, Kanak Suyakma Marin. I am the daughter of Joel Arellano, granddaughter of Albert Marin Arellano, and great-granddaughter of Mercedes Marin. I am from the Marin lineage. My native ancestors were baptized at Mission San Jose going back to the year 1814, when my great-great-great-grandmother, Afrena Kinatole, was missionized into Mission San Jose from her village on the north side of the Carquinez Strait. Her husband, Liberato Culpexi from the Saclan and Jalquin tribes, was baptized at Mission San Francisco in 1801. With me today is Muwekma Ohlone Tribal member, Lucas Tuheste Arellano, and my son. We are Muwekma Ohlone. Welcome to Muwekma's ancestral homeland, where we are born. Menemu nepetuhi exuyakma Muwekma. Makimak Muwekma Wulwula, Akoy Makware, Mani Makiswi. On behalf of our people, Muwekma La Gente, we would like to offer an official welcoming to our ancestral homeland, to this ethno-historic tribal territory of the Thamian Ohlone-speaking tribal groups of the greater Santa Clara Valley, which includes the lands of the Thamians, Alzons, Matatlans, and Paleños. Today, Santa Clara University, Mission Santa Clara the Thamian, the city of Santa Clara, and surrounding towns reside in our ancestral Thamian Ohlone-speaking territory. We welcome everyone in attendance at the Climate and Environmental Justice Conference to our Holsheware, our beautiful ancestral homeland. Now we would like to read the following Muwekma land acknowledgement. Muwekma Wulwulam Warepdash. Poshetuhi. We would like to recognize that while we come together at Santa Clara University and Mission Santa Clara in the city of Santa Clara for the Climate and Environmental Justice Conference, we are gathered on the ethno-historic tribal territory of the Thamian Ohlone-speaking tribal groups of the greater Santa Clara Valley. which includes the lands of the Tamians, Alzons, Matatlans, and Paleños, whose tribal region was named after their powerful chief, Capitan Pala, and the two Mexican land grants located in the East Hills above San Jose, and who were intermarried with the direct ancestors of some of the lineages enrolled in the Muwekma Ohlone Tribe of the San Francisco Bay Area, whom were missionized into missions Santa Clara, San Jose, and San Francisco. The present-day Muwekma Ohlone Tribe, with an enrolled Bureau of Indian Affairs documented membership of over 600 members, is comprised of all the known surviving Indian lineages aboriginal to the San Francisco Bay region, who trace our tribe's ancestry through the Michonicma, missions Santa Clara de Tamien, San Jose, and San Francisco, during the advent of the Hispano-European Empire into Alta California, beginning in AD 1769. Muwekma Suyakma, or Muwekma families, are the successors and living members of the sovereign, historic, previously federally recognized Verona Band of Alameda County, now formally recognized as the Muwekma Ohlone Tribe of the San Francisco Bay Area. Muwekma means la gente, the people, in our Chocheño Ohlone language. The lands on which Santa Clara University and Mission Santa Clara in the city of Santa Clara have been established was and continues to be of great spiritual significance and historical importance for our Muwekma Ohlone tribal people. This region extends to surrounding areas that held several tupentoks, traditional semi-subterranean spiritual roundhouses. Tupentoks were places of celebration, healing, spiritual cleansing, rituals, dances, intertribal feasts, and religious ceremonies, which were once located on the historic Lupi Inigo land grant, Rancho Pozolmi, y Positas de las Animas, Little Wells of Souls, and also at Marcelo, Pio, y Cristobal's land grant, Rancho Ulistac, as well as our historic 19th and 20th century San Leandro, San Lorenzo, The Springs, Alisal, Pleasanton, Niles, Sonol, and Livermore Rancherias, in addition to the nearby ancestral heritage sites that served as the tribe's territorial monuments and traditional cemetery sites for high lineage families, craft specialists, and fallen warriors. In the region surrounding Santa Clara University and Mission Santa Clara in Santa Clara County is where many of our tribe's ancestral heritage cemetery and village sites are located, especially adjacent to freshwater corridors such as Calabasas, San Tomas Aquino, Stevens, Saratoga, Los Gatos Creek, and the Guadalupe River, where many have been destroyed as a result of unbridled development. These localities are viewed as historic and sacred places, and it is acknowledged that these lands have been previously settled, harvested, and controlled by our ancestral Muwekma tribal groups for many thousands of years. Today, we, the Muwekma Ohlone tribal leadership and members, work as stewards, addressing and protecting many of our up to 10,000-year-old ancestral heritage village and cemetery sites, such as the pre-contact site, CASCL 755, and the two historic Mission Santa Clara Indian Neophyte cemeteries, CASCL 30/H, where 6,000 to 8,000 of our ancestors are buried, to the 9,000-year-old Metcalf Road site located along Mayan Rume, Coyote Creek, and Highway 101. The city of Santa Clara and Santa Clara County are established within the ancestral Tamian Ohlone tribal ethnohistoric territory, which, based upon the 18 unratified federal treaties of 1851 to 1852, includes the unceded ancestral lands of the Muwekma Ohlone Tribe of the San Francisco Bay Area. Some of the enrolled Muwekma lineages are directly descended from ancestors aboriginal to the Tamian Ohlone tribal territories, whose families had affiliation with Mission Santa Clara de Tamien. Also, some of the enrolled Muwekma lineages are descended from direct ancestors from neighboring Ohlone tribes who were intermarried with Mission Santa Clara Clareño Indians. It is important that we pause and recognize the history of the land of the Tamian Ohlone on which we gather to participate, enjoy, learn, and honor, but also acknowledge that the first people of this region, our Muwekma Ohlone people, are alive and thriving members of the city of Santa Clara County, and the greater Bay Area communities today. Even though our tribe was denied a land base through the gross negligence of derelict BIA officials after our tribe was first federally recognized in 1906, it is because of the tenacity, tuheshte, strength, and legacy of our ancestors and elders that Muwekma, our people, have been able to maintain our identity and traditions and keep our culture and Maknono, our language, alive today. Furthermore, Muwekma Ohlone Tribe, our Muwekma Ohlone Indian families have never left our Aboriginal ancestral homelands of the Bay Area. Today, we attempt to repair the sustained ecological, environmental, and cultural devastation to our tribe wrought by over 251 years of colonial processes of disenfranchisement through the politics of erasure.
We are focused on keeping our traditional culture strong as we work for a bright and favorable future for Suyakma, our children, and ensuring generations as we follow in the footsteps of our Maxiaknas, our ancestors. Maxiaknait Rasha. We respectfully request that the good citizens of the Santa Clara and surrounding towns within Santa Clara County strive to be faithful stewards on behalf of the Ohlone Tribe by maintaining the bay, freshwater creeks, native plants, animal habitats, and air we all breathe. Furthermore, we request that the city of Santa Clara and surrounding towns within Santa Clara County to honor the military services of Muwekma men and women who have honorably served overseas during World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, Desert Storm, Iraq, and who are still serving in the United States Armed Forces today. And honor the tribal veterans and service members from the California, North, and South America who have served this country with dignity and honor. In closing, it is of great spiritual significance to acknowledge the special relationship of this Vice-Chairwoman, beautiful land to the Indigenous Muwekma Ohlone Tribe of this region, as well as all people residing in the Bay Area. We respectfully request that everyone who lives, works, or visits the Santa Clara University and Mission Santa Clara in the city of Santa Clara and surrounding towns be respectful of our Aboriginal lands, natural habitats, and consistent with our principles of community, diversity, and inclusion. Strive to be good citizens on behalf of the Ohlone Tribe on whose Aboriginal lands you are our guests. Thank you. And on behalf of the Ohlone Tribe, we hope you celebrate, honor, and stand in solidarity with all Muwekma Indigenous people with their struggles for the adverse colonial legacies affecting all people of color in the city of Santa Clara, the Greater Bay Area, California, the United States, and the Americas, as we gather and reflect on the sacred lands of the Muwekma Ohlone. Aho.
Thank you. Also, I segue over into my presentation about the Muwekma Ohlone Preservation Foundation. The Muwekma Ohlone Preservation Foundation was established in 2020 by a vote by the Muwekma Ohlone Tribal Council to create a nonprofit land trust that supports the tribe. The Muwekma Ohlone Preservation Foundation works with partners and donors to support a thriving, resilient Muwekma Ohlone Tribe in our Aboriginal homeland of the San Francisco Bay Area. The vision. The Muwekma Ohlone Tribe of the San Francisco Bay Area and the Muwekma Ohlone Preservation Foundation envision a future where Muwekma Ohlone people have established our sacred connection to our ancestral land and Utashwada, steward the land base where we have always been, and ensure the land has hiswe, sea, clean water, clean air, and healthy soil. Awaken, practice, and protect our Innu, Hemin culture, Nonokma language, Yisha dancing on the land through tribal gatherings and creating ceremonial spaces. Honor Muwekma Kush, our ancestors, and the lineages descended from Mission Dolores, Mission Tamien, and Mission San Jose, where we were first federally recognized as the Brona Band through Mak Ukshere, our work. That we are Ukshukne, recognized as the sovereign people to be treated with dignity and uni, respect, Hemen, living within modern-day California. We work to ensure that continued Ishak Insen, Muwekma, resilience of our people. The current top priorities of the Muwekma Ohlone Tribe are to 1, restore federal recognition to our people, preserve, and protect culture with our members by doing things such as dancing and speaking our native Muwekma Ohlone San Francisco Bay Costanoan language. Connect our members to land by creating native gardens and land stewardship. We recognize how expensive it is to live in the San Francisco Bay Area. One of our top priorities is to create a native village to keep our tribal members together and provide such things as housing, native farming for food sovereignty, a cultural center, healthcare, childcare, and a place to gather, dance, and practice our traditions in a safe place. Lastly, continue community education and partnerships. To support the Muwekma Ohlone Tribe, you can help restore sovereignty to the tribe by visiting our Muwekma website for more information. That's muwekma.org. There you can sign the Restore Muwekma letter for federal recognition. Sign the Restore the Homeland letter for land back to the tribe. Call your representative to voice your support to restore our federal recognition and donate funds. One of the ways we are working to achieve our tribal goals is through the nonprofit land trust, the Muwekma Ohlone Preservation Foundation. The purpose of the Muwekma Ohlone Preservation Foundation is to support tribal sovereignty for the benefit of our tribal members and the larger community who reside in our Muwekma territory through land acquisition, land stewardship, and partnerships. You can support our efforts and to preserve and practice culture and connect our members back to the land by supporting the Muwekma Ohlone Preservation Foundation and signing up for our mailing list. The website is muwekmafoundation.org. The Muwekma Ohlone Tribe works through the foundation to heal our people by connecting with the land, regain tribal knowledge, and ensure a continued resilience. The three tribal entities that work for our tribe are: one, the Muwekma Ohlone Tribe moves its priorities forward through three established entities: the Muwekma Ohlone Tribe and our tribal council, the Muwekma Ohlone Tribe Inc., and the Muwekma Ohlone Preservation Foundation. The Muwekma Ohlone Tribal Council is the governing body of the tribe and carries out long-term programs and variety of short-term projects to meet goals set forth by the tribe, such as federal recognition, cultural preservation, repatriation, and building a native village. Muwekma Ohlone Tribe Inc., the Muwekma Ohlone Tribe manages cultural resources with projects that involve archaeology, burial recovery, Native American monitoring, and responding to the most likely descendant requests from the Native American Heritage Commission. Muwekma Ohlone Preservation Foundation. The purpose of the Muwekma Ohlone Preservation Foundation is to support tribal sovereignty for the benefit of tribal members and the larger community in our ancestral Muwekma territory through land acquisition, land stewardship, and partnership, supporting our vision to build a native village for our members. We thank our fiscal sponsor, Post, for helping us launch the Muwekma Ohlone Preservation Foundation. We thank the board, staff, and donors of Post as well for helping us work toward our vision of creating a thriving land trust for our people. Thank you. And now I'd like to introduce Professor Michael Wilcox, and he'll speak a little bit more about the foundation.
So thank you, everybody, for being here this morning. It's a great morning. It's a beautiful day out. I want to thank Lee for being here and organizing things, and point out a good person to know in this environmental justice space, which is Sybil Diver right there. If you could raise your hand. She runs things at Stanford. She organizes all of our meetings. And through the course of my later career, I found myself more and more in environmental justice spaces. And I hope this little introduction explains kind of why. So the inspiration for me in trying to approach the tribe about a land trust was really the work of Chairman Val Lopez, and other people who have done land-based educational projects in Hawaii and other Native communities. Just inspires people to do this kind of work. So whenever I want to pick me up, whenever I feel like I don't know what I'm doing in this space, I just pull up a YouTube of Val, and it's inspiring, and I invite you to do the same thing. Thinking about environmental justice and what it means, I'm just going to read this description for an opening, a job at Stanford that's coming up, and just explains kind of basically what environmental justice is and what the land trust, how those two come together. So we seek the position asks for someone who looks at environmental health inequalities, methodologies of knowledge recreation, democratizing science, just transitions in economics that affect food, energy, and climate systems, prevention, monitoring, and mitigation of exposure pathways to pollutants that disproportionately affect communities of color. So what's unique, I think, about the land trust is that we envision not just a land trust where people can go visit and gather in a traditional ecological model that many ecologists look at the environment as something that needs to be protected from people. And the difference between what we want to do and what I think what Val has been doing for years is to get people on the land, doing things, and also creating community, creating spaces where people can interact and build healthy relationships with one another. An extension of that is that the tribe doesn't just need a place to gather, it needs a place to live. And that's a big issue in the Bay Area. One thing that if you can come away with nothing else in this process to understand that colonization was not an event that happened in the past, but it has ongoing manifestations. And among those manifestations is a lack of housing, livable spaces for tribal members, and the capacity to build those spaces within the institutions that we have available to us. Central to every concept of a land trust or environmental justice, I think, if you're working with tribes, is the concept of the seventh generation. Seventh generation is a native concept. It can mean a bunch of different things, but one version of it that I like to adopt is that we are here as a result of ancestors who we never met 7 generations back. And we're responsive to and responsible for the 7th generations who will come after us, many of whom we will never meet. We're in a moment right now where people are willing to confront the difficult legacies of colonization and dispossession. And I want to invite you to recognize that this moment is very real, and that the work of Charlene and Monica in the last few years has been to really accelerate the visibility of the tribe and especially with our neighbors as well, and to ask us to create a world that's inhabitable for people like Lucas and the next generations, because that's what we're really here for, the young people. Finally, I want to give a shout out to Lee, because Lee wrote a fantastic book about the Muwekma Ohlone Tribe and talks about the colonization of Alta and Baja California. It's the best thing that's out there. And if you want to know a little bit more, a lot more about this very interesting, complex history, please look at his book. It's called Narratives of Persistence. And in that book, there's an interesting kind of thing that complicates this whole conversation that we're having, is that my tribe, my father's family are from Yuma, Arizona. My great-grandmother was named Rosa Carvajal. And she's from the tribe. They moved to Los Angeles later on in their lives. But the complication is that the people at Yuma control the crossing into Alta California. And the reason why one of the reasons that this part of the world was explored so late is because of the actions of that particular tribe. What's ironic is that that particular tribe sent people north into Alta California to aid in the colonization of this area. So we think about things in black and white terms, but the more complex histories, the more interesting histories, the kind of scholarship that Lee's working on really makes us have a different perspective to what we're doing in this particular space. So I just want to close with saying that the tribe is working very hard for federal recognition, and that doesn't maybe seem like something that falls into the category of environmental justice, unless you think about what it really means according to that description. It's housing, it's health, it's all the things. It's care and protection of your ancestors, the dead. All of those things are not accessible unless the tribe has the capacity to make those moves. And so I invite you to support the tribe on its website, through the foundation, and through events like this, where we can get together, find common ground, and work forward to a more just future for people like Lucas. Thank you.
All right, and on that note, just want to see how this is going to. On that note, we'll be having an event next Friday, so a week from tomorrow, here at Santa Clara University, in collaboration with the Muwekma Ohlone Tribe. So Monica will be back, as well the chairwoman, Charlene Nijme, and it'll be a day-long symposium looking at the challenges related to this issue of federal recognition that Monica and Mike both mentioned. And again, this is, the political acknowledgement of the tribe is integral to these questions of environmental justice. I think in the land acknowledgement that Monica and Lucas read, you can, the historical injustices that the Muwekma Ohlone Tribe and the Amah Mutsun have suffered, both tribes very similar histories in terms of missionization and dispossession. And for the Muwekma Ohlone Tribe, this issue of federal recognition is critical. So please join us next Friday. There'll be panels with tribal leadership. There'll be experts from different universities throughout the country. Mike and I will both be back if you didn't hear enough of us. Anyway, so I want to plug in for that event next week here on campus. It'll be really great. So thanks again for Monica, Lucas, and Mike for sharing a little bit about the Muwekma Ohlone Preservation Foundation. All right, so the here. Next, I want to invite Chairman Valentin Lopez to the podium to share a little bit about what's going on just to the south of us with the Amah Mutsun Tribal Band in their land trust and similar histories and similar struggles. Let's see, go back to Zoom. Nope. Right. Okay. Yeah. But you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for being here. I want to thank the organizers of this event. I want to recognize and acknowledge the Tamian Nation upon whose land we're on. This is the indigenous tribe of the Tamian. I have Tamian lineage, but today we acknowledge that Tamian is stewarded and managed and protected by the Muwekma tribe, and we're happy to have them here. We offer their ancestors, their members, their future descendants prayers and blessings. I want to start out with our creation story of the Amah Mutsun. Our tribe is representative of the descendants that were taken to Mission San Juan Bautista and Santa Cruz. And I have lineages to both missions. Our creation story, which takes place at Mount Eminem, which is was the tallest mountain peak in the Santa Cruz Mountains, tells us that that's where our creation story begins. Creator brought hummingbird, eagle, and a peregrine falcon to the mountaintop. And there he worked to create all the life forms that we see today. And there's a very long story, and because I have very limited time here, I won't get into that. But the most important part of our creation story tells us the Creator identified our tribal territories, where we belong. And so therefore, we did not try to build empires. We did not covet our neighbor's territory. We knew where we belonged, and we stayed there. Creator also gave us a responsibility to take care of all living things and Mother Earth. And that was an incredibly important and serious message. We had the responsibility to take care of the rivers. We have the responsibility to take care of the four-legged, the winged, the finned. We have the responsibility to take care of the oceans and the trees and the plants. That's the responsibility Creator gave us. We are the only ones that have the moral authority to speak for these things within our tribal territory. And that's very important for people to understand. And our people develop, our people with that responsibility, our ancestors first recognized that Mother Earth is sacred. And we have the responsibility to maintain that sacredness here on Mother Earth. We have the responsibility to ensure that the plants, and we also look at the plants and the animals and all things as gifts to us from Creator. The plants were given to us as a gift. They were given to us as a gift from for our foods, our medicines, our basketry, our crafting, for our women's care, our babies' care, for housing, clothing, etc. Those were the gifts that Creator gave us. Whenever we look at landscapes and mountains and stuff like that, what we saw was our pharmacy, our grocery store, our hardware stores. It provided everything we need. That's what those things represented. We did not try to control them or dominate them. That's what modern agriculture does. It controls and dominates plants. We did not do that. We recognized that the plants, as I said, were a gift from Creator. Those plants were also our relatives. Animals, wildlife are our animals. The rivers, the oceans, all these things are our relatives. They have the same father we do. Our father is Creator. The plants, wildlife have that same father, Creator. They have the same mother, Mother Earth, that nourishes us, that provides for us, that takes care of us. We have the same mother. Therefore, all living things from that perspective are our relatives. And so we have the responsibility to take care of these things in that way. And so our ancestors, as I said, saw it as a very important responsibility. Our people learned how to take care of the plants. The way that they took care of the plants is they would not see a plant and say, oh, wouldn't this plant here or this flower here look more beautiful on that hill over there? Let's move it over there. Our people didn't do that. They would see that flower and say, this is where that flower chose to be. This is where Creator chose to place this flower or this plant or this tree. This is where the plant belongs. And so then we would start taking care of that plant. And we would start growing into a patch. And that patch would become bigger and bigger and bigger. And that plant there represented a food plant, a food source, or a medicine. Or as I said, it could be used for basketry, for traps, for nets, for baby cradles, etc. And we would take care of that plant and grow that patch as big as was needed as the populations grew to make sure that it provided the resource for that particular animal, for that particular bird, etc. That's the way we took care of the plants. And the way we took care of those plants, because of the way we took care of those plants developed very deep, deep root systems. Our grasslands, the plants can go down 15 to 20 feet deep. And because of that, our plants today are very resistant to fire, to flooding, to drought. And those plants are going to be critical for us to deal with and survive climate change. This is why our land trust today works hard to bring back our native plants. Our people understood how to use fire. Fire, again, was a sacred gift to us from Creator. That fire was used to keep us warm, to give us light, to allow us to cook our food. It was also central to all of our prayers and all of our ceremonies. If you've ever been to a Native American ceremony, you know there's always a fire there. And so the dancers, for the way we dance, our dancers go, out, in the circle. But what they're doing is they're gathering the prayers from all the people that are participating and attending that particular ceremony. It gets their prayers and it gives them up to the fire, and then that fire carries those messages, those prayers for help, those prayers for healing, those prayers for understanding, for patience, etc. It carries those prayers up to Creator so the Creator can understand our messages. And that's why we have fire, and that's why when we pray into a smudge stick, a smoldering smudge stick, so that smoke can carry our prayers up. Our people knew how to use fire. Whenever we would burn an oak forest, for example, that fire, our people learned how to burn with a very, with frequency every 5, 7, 10 years. And when you burn at that frequency, you create charcoal. You don't the result isn't carbon. So that's not going into being released. And when you burn at that frequency, it's a low intensity fire. It doesn't get extremely hot. And the fire will just creep along the ground, and it's easy to manage and control because it's a very low intensity fire. But now then, when it's going through that oak forest, it goes up. That smoke is going into the oak trees. And that oak trees is smudging and cleansing and blessing those trees. It's a ceremony for those oak trees and other trees when the smoke is going in it under a cultural burn, not a prescribed burn, a cultural burn. And that's what the intent is there. But there's benefits now. When that smoke is going up there, it's choking out the bugs that are in that tree. Then the insects would fall down to the ground and they would burn. It's also burning the insects that are in the ground, the ticks, etc. And so it's cleansing the ground and it's cleansing that tree. So the year after a burn like that, the acorn production is just tremendous, and the acorns are clean. You look at acorns now, then you'll see 70–80% of them have little holes for the insects. Our people understood how to take care of the plants this way, and how to use fire as a tool. I'm going to jump ahead real fast. Then came the hard times. The ancestors told me whenever I talk, always talk about our history and always tell the truth. So I'm going to talk about this just very briefly. When you look at, then came the hard times, the times of the mission and the Spanish coming here. They wanted to destroy our culture, destroy our spirituality, destroy our indigenous knowledge, destroy our environments. They wanted to take our lands and our water and our minerals. That's pretty much what happened. And it's very seldom that I speak at a mission. I'm here today because this is an important event, but I very seldom speak at missions, and there's mission very close by here. But then that was followed by the Mexican period. The Mexican period, for them, that was just a huge land grab, because what they did is they gave these huge land grants. And then they brought in their cattle, their horses, their pigs, their sheep. And, because that's what they wanted to do. They want to turn California into a ranching state. And so with those animals, they thought our grazing grasses were inferior. And so then they bring in their native grazing, their European grazing grasses, their alfalfa, their barley, their oats, etc. And those plants right there, they did not develop that deep root system. Therefore, they grew a lot faster. And they quickly shaded out our native plants. And there goes our food plants. There goes our medicine plants, our basketry plants, etc. There they go because of the conversion to the foreign grazing grasses. Today, when you drive down 101, 280, 680, you take your pick. You look at those landscapes and stuff like that. 96% of that landscape or more is non-native. What happened to our plants? What happened to our plants? That's what happened. Then came the American period. The American period was horrible. What you see on the screen there, is that right there is an actual treasury bond that was issued by the state of California. Can you imagine that? The legislators passed a bond to pay for the extermination of California Indians. Bonds are passed for the public good, for libraries, for highways, for waterways, etc., for the public good. Well, killing Indians, massacring, exterminating Indians was considered a public good to them. And this here is a United States, a state of California treasury bond that was sold. People were buying these treasury bonds as an investment. That's why these bonds were paid. They're investing in the extermination of California Indians. The other thing they did with the money that was passed from this treasury bond is they paid for militias to go up into the hills and find the Indians and just kill them and scalp them. And they would pay the scalp money. You know, again, 25 cents to $5 for every scalp. It was just horrendous what happened. Our population just totally decreased. The way that our generation, that my lineage, I can say this specifically for my lineage, but I'm sure it happened to many other lineages, is because that mission forced us to speak Spanish, because they gave us Christian Hispanic names, Montoya, Lopez, Rodriguez, Sanchez, etc. When they came to collect their bounty monies for us, we just say, hey, man, don't insult us. We're not Indian, we're Mexican. I speak Spanish. My name is Rodriguez. How dare you, insult me by calling me Indian? Today, that feels horrible that we had to do that. We had to deny who we were. That just feels horrible. But that's how we survived. And then when you progress from there through the 1900s, in 1952, I grew up in a tent. The first 5 years of my life, I was living with our tribal members in tents. We were down in Gilroy. This right here is the Valley of Heart's Delight. Isn't it beautiful? Isn't it beautiful? The Valley of Heart's Delight. Well, many of our people, our tribe, worked on these ranches and on these farms. You know, we worked a lot of the row crops. I remember picking strawberries. I remember picking string beans, etc. Well, just in San Jose, I remember picking the peaches, the prunes, the apricots, etc. And we worked together as a tribe. I would look down, walking in at the end of the day from working. I was just a little kid, 4 or 5 years old. I was still expected to go out there and pick fruit, etc. We'd look there, we have 14, 15 tents all lined up, and those were all of our tribal members. We have a picture from the 1928 of all our tribal members at a ranch, the George Schreffer Ranch. That was a ranch that was directly in front of Gavilan College down to the Monterey Highway. That's where our tents were. That's where we lived. That's horrible, and at age 5 and 6, we started transitioning to a house, and I grew up in Morgan Hill. I graduated from Live Oak High School. And in football and basketball and track and field, we used to beat San Jose schools regularly. I can tell you that. But as the economy here in the Santa Clara Valley was transitioning to the Silicon Valley, to manufacturing, etc., these ranches were being sold for ranchettes. And so there was no work for us now. We were losing all the places that we worked at. So our people had to move to Fresno, Hanford, Madera, Merced, etc. And that's where the majority of our tribe lives at today. Not because they don't want to live here. They can't afford to live here. I didn't say this. When I was working as a child on those ranches, the generation above me did not read or write. Did not read or write. So how do you survive in an evolving economy that's changing like that? To survive in that economy. Our people went to the valley so they could continue the agricultural work. Life is hard. Life has been very hard. And the hard part too is that identity. Am I really an Indian? We're not recognized, even though we signed a treaty in 1851. It was the same treaty that Muwekma signed. We signed a treaty in 1851. And that treaty, they were signed by the treaty commissioners and sent to Washington, D.C. to be ratified. The state of California did not want treaties. They did not want reservations. They wanted extermination. And so what they did is they passed a resolution asking the president and the Senate to not ratify those treaties. And when that resolution was passed, they sent a delegation to Washington, D.C. to lobby against the treaties being ratified. And then the president ordered that the treaties be sealed for 50 years. And our treaty was never ratified. This is why so many tribes in the Greater Bay Area are not recognized today. It's not that we're not worthy or not good enough or not Indian enough. It's because the state of California sabotaged our treaty and the president and the US Senate did not ratify that treaty. In 2003, I was one of the few people in our tribe that went to college, in my generation. And in 2003, the elders came to me and asked me to run for chair of our tribe. And in our culture, you cannot say no to elders. That's horrible. Good luck, grandparents today of doing that. But it's, but in our traditional ways and in our culture, we cannot say no to elders. And so when they asked me, I accepted and I prepared myself to be tribal chair. And I was working and I had a family and I knew that was going to be very difficult. But I worked hard at it. Actually, I retired at age 53 so that I could work full-time for the tribe. And my income at that point was, I ended up surviving on 30% of my income, 30%, just so that I could work full-time for the tribe. And I learned how to live very cheap, by the way. In 2006, the elders came to a tribal meeting and they say, we have to find a way to fulfill our obligation to Creator. Our creation story tells us, take care of Mother Earth and all living things. That's what we have to do. We have to find a way to get back to that. We have to fulfill our obligation to Creator and do that. And I left that meeting shaking my head, wondering what the heck just happened. I mean, we can't even afford gas to come to our territory. How the heck are we going to start, speaking up for our territory? We don't own an inch of land. You look at the property, no trespassing, keep out, private property, etc. How the heck are we going to, what land are we going to take care of? We didn't know. But because the elders again came to our meeting and said we had to find a way to get back to that, that's not a polite, why don't you consider, or why don't you try this, or why don't you try that? No, you will find a way. And so we did what our tribe always does. We prayed and we asked Creator to help us find a way to get back to our lands so that we can return to the path of our ancestors to fulfill our obligation to take care of Mother Earth. Shortly after that, I get a call from Pinnacles inviting us to come down and talk to them about it, participating in the management of Pinnacles National Park. Boom, that blew our mind. How could, you never imagine anything like that ever happening. But we recognize this as an opportunity. We talked to them, but we didn't give them an immediate answer. We went back to tribal council and we said, well, wait a minute, man, if we do this, we're going to end up looking stupid because we had lost so much of that knowledge that our ancestors had. Is this a medicine plant or a food plant? I don't know. What's the name of this in your language? I don't know. What, tell us about your songs. What are your songs? I don't know. He said, man, we're going to, do we want to look that dumb? And so we said at the tribal meeting, we said, well, we have to recognize two things. We have to recognize that is not our fault. What happened and why we lost that knowledge is not our fault. But we also have to acknowledge that we have a responsibility to restore and regain that knowledge so that we can return to the path of our ancestors and so that we can fulfill our obligation to Creator. So then we said yes to Pinnacles. We told them our situation where we're going to be in a relearning mode for a long time. And they said, please come on in. And then state parks heard about this. The Bureau of Land Management heard about this, what we were doing. And we started working hard as a tribe. And then we started, working with Mid-Peninsula Open Space Trust, and other land trusts and open space districts, et cetera. And then in 2012, we developed the Amah Mutsun Land Trust. And we started working with a lot of people in the land trust and land conservation areas to help us learn how to run the land trust and how to be successful with the land trust. And that's when, so when we developed our land trust, there was 4 main goals there. One is to preserve and protect our sacred sites and our cultural sites because they are under so much pressure from development and destruction and exploitation, etc. So we started working hard to preserve our sites, and we have that happening down at Eurostock right now. If you're not familiar, it'd be wonderful if you can't become aware of that. Secondly, is we have we do research. We do research to restore that knowledge. We do research to restore what the landscapes look like, so we can restore those native landscapes using the native plants that still remain there to restore them. And then we also do a lot of research on telling the truth about our history, about indigenous history, what happened to the history. Why isn't the true history of our tribe ever told in the schools? Why isn't, in the elementary schools, middle schools, high schools, universities? The truth is not told. They're still back there saying that the Indians that went to the missions loved it, and they came in voluntarily, and it was a peaceful, happy place. They say that they don't ever talk about this bond money here being paid. Have you ever seen this before? In college, shouldn't you have learned that someplace in your California history? Why isn't this told? We need to teach the truth, and that's what that research for our land trust is, research the truth of the Native people, the California Native history, and find out what happened and start teaching that truth and getting that truth known out there. If we're going to ever heal, we talk about healing, a lot Native people need to heal from what happened to them. Well, yeah, that is true. But perpetrators and institutions that contributed to our destruction need to heal from what they did. They need to heal a heck of a lot more than the tribes do. And when are they going to start that? That's my challenge. When are they going to start that? And then the other goal is education, teaching our members about as we learn about how to take care of our plants and our food plants, our medicine plants, etc. We want to start teaching that and bringing that back. So that's a big part of our land trust. And then finally is a Native Stewardship Corps. We actually work on the grounds every day to restore our native plants, to bring back our ceremonies, our songs. We worked on removing a dam recently. And right after that, we had a calling home the salmon ceremony, which was a traditional ceremony that our ancestors held. We thought it would be 5, 6, 7 years before the salmon would come back to up that stream where the dam was removed. We had that ceremony. The next year, the salmon were back. This is sacred. We're restoring sacredness to these waters, and they knew that it was safe and it was ready for them to come back. We also, the last year was the first year that we had our native plant, our greenhouse, and we propagated over 120,000 plants. And those are plants that we had collected for the 4 or 5 years before from the native plants that existed in that landscape. And then we grew them in the greenhouse, and now we're transplanting them back to the landscape out there. And we also planted a good number of them in an agricultural field. I hate that word, agriculture. But we also, next to an ag field that was there, so we can get future seed production so we can start restoring those seeds. There's a lot going on. We're going to deal with climate change. Climate change must be indigenous led. We've done a lot of research with Berkeley, with Stanford, with UC Santa Cruz, with Santa Clara. Lee does wonderful work. Mr. Panich does wonderful work. And we need to recognize that. But I don't call that research anymore. That is validation. They are validating the way that our people took care of Mother Earth is what we need to get back to if we're going to be successful in addressing climate change. Oh, thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Lopez, for those powerful words. This has really been a really fantastic hour hearing from Monica and Lucas and Val about the troubling history of our region. As the speakers pointed out, this is the center of wealth creation in really the whole world, and it's coming to cost both socially, culturally, and environmentally. And I think that that's something that as we go throughout the next 2 days of this conference to really keep front of mind. So I really appreciate you all coming out and talking about your tribe's history, the struggles, but also moving forward with these great land trusts, the work that you all have put in, the collaborations that you've built across the Bay Area. It's really powerful and gives me a lot of hope for the future. In the interest of keeping us on time, I know that we've got refreshments that came in. We wanted to have a little bit of discussion as well. So I think our speakers, I'm sure, would be willing to answer any questions if you wanted to come up, but I also don't want to eat into the break when we have refreshments in that. Chris, did you have any housekeeping things you wanted to?
Yes, we'll have a 15-minute break once you.
Okay, I think I'm in the process of wrapping up. I also want to apologize that we didn't cycle through Chairman Lopez's slides. So maybe during the break, I'll try to get that going so we can go through the slide deck, as there were some other images besides this important but troubling reminder of our state's past. So, okay, well, sure, do you want to take 5 minutes? Are there any closing words that you all would like to? I think the mics are on. If you want to, any of you want to say anything in closing?
I would like to address that, the Muwekma Ohlone Tribe and other Ohlone descendants have been working with Santa Clara University to heal. They have addressed the many wrongdoings of the mission and what it caused to our members and to our people, to our ancestors. They've addressed that trauma and they've helped us deal with it. They formed an Ohlone working group on campus, and Professor Panich, Professor Luck, and Matt, I'm sorry.
So Matt Crude.
Yes, they were part of that beginning, and we've been working with them for years. And part of this was to provide recommendations on what they can do on campus, because there were visual reminders of the trauma that was inflicted on our members, on our descendants, on the descendants today, but the ancestors that died here at this mission. And, taking down the Sarah statue, removing a Peter Burnett sign, those are very helpful for us to move forward. But there's still much work to be done, and they're very willing to listen. We created an Ohlone hub. There's a website here, a web page connected to the university's website that talks about our history, talks about our connection to the land, to the area. And also it has resources such as a list of words. Some words are derogatory, they're offensive. So it's good to see, what you should say and what you should not say, and just be mindful. A lot has changed, social justice, these issues are very prevalent. And, we get asked a lot, what can we do to help? How can we help your tribal people heal? And working partnerships like with the university have been very productive for our members, to move forward. We're not healed completely. Of course, there's still much work to be done, but these are good steps. And we appreciate the invitation to sit at the table and to talk about it. So we'd just like to acknowledge that work. Thank you.
Iris.
Thank you so much for all of you for these powerful words. One question that came up for me is that recently it seems like the state of California is at least attempting to do a few things right. And I was wondering, in the context of the discussion around reparations, has there been anything regarding the California tribes and all the injustices that they have suffered?
When you say reparation, are you talking about bank bill, or are you talking about like land back, or other issues? Wow.
Any kind.
Okay. There's a lot of efforts, to rename that. And, just a week ago, less than a week ago, there was an article about getting the remains returned to tribes. The Muwekma tribe, I believe, has the majority of the UC Berkeley collections in We locked them up and caged, but to get the remains of their ancestors back. Our tribe has remains here. I've been trying to work with them since 2009 of getting the Mutsun remains back to our tribe. And the university looks at it as their possession, looks to it as if though, that's what we were saying a while back, we stole them fair and square. They kind of, it seemed like they had that approach for so long. Now they want to give them back. They created Cal Niagara. Cal Niagara created a tricky language that caused problems to work, for the conflicts with the Cal Niagara and National Niagara. And that has to be worked out. And that is stalled now. Until that solution is figured out, nothing's going to happen. And that's how Cal Niagara. Now, the land back, they're talking about money and stuff like that. But it's kind of a difficult thing to talk about here. But when you look at the federally recognized tribes and non-federally recognized tribes, the recognized tribes always get, seated in front. And so we're just hoping that there's something for the unrecognized. So, I feel that's that's going to be a big challenge on that regard. So we are following up on trying to get something like the government gave we're talking about $100 million to help try to get their land back. We're trying to follow up for that and all the other initiatives. There's efforts now. UC Berkeley created the critical mission studies program. They got over $1 million from the head from the University of California system, the UC system, and to do the critical mission studies, to pay researchers and stuff like that, to research the true history of California during the mission time. And that study right there, I'm one of the advisors to that. And we're making good progress there. We met this past weekend at UCLA, and that book, we're working on a book that will be published probably the end of next year or perhaps at the beginning of the following year. But that's going to create a lot of the research that is done on the critical mission studies. I know Lee and Chairwoman and the Muwekma Tribe and our Amah Mutsun Tribe have contributed to that research. So we look forward to that coming out. So there is some progress being made, and some efforts that restoration and recreation and stuff. But it's just getting started, and very little confidence that it's going to be successful before you can bring tribal people back to peace. Thank you.
All right, so, oh, sure.
I gave some hard language there when I talked. I gave you guys a hard story. And it's difficult to listen to it when you hear it for the first time. I'd like the people here and the people on listening is we don't blame you. It's not your fault that what happened to us happened to you. You weren't the one that was paying the bounty money, and you weren't the ones that was collecting the bounty money. So you say, well, wait a minute, I didn't have to do. We're not blaming you. We understand you didn't have to do. What we ask as tribal people is that you recognize how much you benefit from the horrible, brutal history. How much you benefit. You go home to a warm house, or you go home to a full house in the summertime. You drive your car to work. You go to the grocery store for the food. That's all part of the privilege that you have for living here, and a part of the privilege for living here after that brutal history. What we ask you to do, like I say, is recognize how much you benefit, and also then recognize that you need to help the tribe survive. There's very few of us left. I've heard from the Muwekma to say for us, that's over 98% of our members passed away during those periods of colonization. 98%. That's 2% survive. Help us survive. Help us restore our culture. Help us return to our land. Help us return to our spirituality. Help us have access to our faith. of power for ceremony, etc. That's what we ask. So please help us there.
No, thank you. So I just like to add that, please visit our websites. There are ways to take action, muwekma.org, muwekmafoundation.org, amahmutsun.org, and also Protect Juristac. So there's many ways that you can take action after today. Today's the first step. Today you heard our stories, you heard what we had to say, but there's action that you can take afterwards. Support our recognition. Today I brought postcards. If you're interested in writing your congressional representative, send a letter, just voice your opinion, support our recognition, support Juristac. There's so much that can be done. So we'll be here after if you like to talk, take our cards, follow up. We'd be happy to communicate with you afterwards. So thank you again for inviting us to be here. It's very important for us to have this type of platform, to have our voices heard and that we're here in person to share our stories. So thank you again. Kishore Shekinan.